Hello ladies and gentlemen, Captain Check here, and welcome to a discussion video talking about the state of the MMO genre. Now recently I did a video for a TG10 episode all about Elder Scrolls Online, top 10 reasons to be excited, and my awesome luck, they dropped the NDA on the day my video goes out, and things have not been looking up for Elder Scrolls Online. Now I really wanted this to be that MMO, you know, the one that was just the one we've been waiting for. The one that I've been waiting for. And with the early beta access, people have been talking, I don't know. It doesn't look good though. Angry Joe did a great thing on it. It was about 20 minutes long, I guess that's like the requirement. And you kind of get a little bit of a negative taste in your mouth for what's going on with this game. But I want to talk about what the problem is with MMOs right now. Why is it so stale? And I sat here and I was thinking about MMOs and the games that I've played, and to be honest, the last MMO that I really enjoyed playing was Star Wars Galaxies. That's over a decade old. Now, but why is that? Why is Star Wars Galaxies on my list of last games I had fun? I mean, that sounds really bad, especially for a guy who covers a lot of MMOs and is excited about a lot of these games. How can I say that that game, that from so long ago, was the last real fun I had in an MMO? And I think what it is we're all, at least I am, I'm sold on the promise of these MMOs. Always looking for that feature they're going to add, or that system that they're going to get in there, maybe the combat system. And I'll tell you right now, we just haven't seen it. Star Wars Galaxies was the last time a MMO delivered on what it promised. They promised, and this was back in the day when they created worlds. That's the old Origin slogan. The guys who made Ultima Online, they had the slogan, "We create worlds." And the idea was that they made full-on worlds that you could actually role-play a character in, you know, mass multiplayer online role-playing game, where you got into the character and you really enjoyed it. And the only time that I've done that since, you know, looking back, really got into it, Star Wars Galaxies. Because I had those moments, the moments that you remember. It wasn't some, I have to give the example here, it wasn't some just scripted event, a quest that everybody will eventually walk through and most people's stories are the same. Maybe a few changes here because they chose a different option, but in general, everybody's gonna do this event. They're gonna come through this part of town, they're gonna go through this leveling. In Star Wars Galaxies, we had moments, as a couple of examples, I had moments where I was walking through, what was it, Feed, and I ran into a bounty hunter player who was actually playing the character. I was poor, I was just getting started with this new character, and I see, for the first time ever, somebody do an emote in character. He called his bounty out, the guy he's been tracking across the galaxy. He gave up this long kind of good, the bad, and the ugly speech about how the Black Suns are after you, you shouldn't have skipped out on your, you know, on your debt. And he talked about a hut that I'd never heard of, and then he took the target down. And the combat was paced so you could actually have those kind of conversations while battle is going on. And he was talking to a buddy of his who was there with him, and they were actually having this back and forth while the firefight was raging on, and it was very cool. And then he did the first emote I'd ever seen where he did the old Western kind of like spinning the gun and slammed it into his holster. And I was sold. I wanted to know more. And then they talked to me, and they, in character, and I'm finding out more about these bounty hunters, and they're heading back to Tatooine on a job, and I ended up going on this epic adventure with them as a new character. They're in character showing me the ropes, teaching me how to use my pistol, and we ended up picking up some mercenaries in a cantina out of Mos Eisley, and then trying to head over to Jabba because he's got a job for him, and it just turned into this crazy event where we're going across the Dune Sea, creatures everywhere, not sure if we're gonna make it, camping out at night to heal our wounds and talk about the crazy firefight that happened that day. And that's what I miss about the MMO. Digging in and getting into the character and the world and actually having fun doing it. I look at games like Guild Wars. I play a Guardian, but when was the last time I actually felt like I was playing some type of real role? I was running through an area to kill mobs, to get loot, to level up. In areas that 1,000 other people have been through, in quests that 1,000 other people have done. Now, how many people had talked to that bounty hunter, gone through those events, like I did? I'm still playing Star Wars Galaxies to this day. I'm actually over on the emulator server. And I'm still experiencing new things in a game that's over a decade old. I'm a mayor of a city now, appointed by my guild. We're a special forces operation for the rebels. We're raiding Imperial strongholds. I get reports from players telling me about this new Imperial base that has been deployed in the northern section of Talos, the map that we're on, the planet that we're on. They scouted out how many troops were there, how many NPCs are there, how many turrets are there, and they're telling me all this in character, but it's all supported by game mechanics that make sense. That base is actually there. Those NPCs are there and waiting to be taken out. My unit, a Special Forces Rebel unit, can actually go in there with the right supplies, gear, and training and take that base down. And those are the moments, that's the stuff that sticks with you. We will remember the battle to take that base out for a very long time. People will be screaming things in character as the firefight's raging between the 20 stormtroopers and the 20 rebel players that I bring in with me on that mission. Our snipers will be hanging back and covering fire and taking the headshots. They'll be scouting out and calling in locations of targets and hitting the comms and telling me what's going on. All in character, because that's how the game was designed, to be able to actually be a mass multiplayer online role-playing game. Now there hasn't been an MMO like that since Star Wars Galaxies, honestly, that has the mechanics, that actually encourages just hanging out. The whole camping mechanic, as a scout, you could deploy these camps and that would allow you to heal mind and body wounds. Players could actually get wounded from combat, where it would lower your amount of health and how fast your health regenerates. Only a doctor or a well-trained medic could fix these things. So you'd deploy a camp, or go to a medical center in a city, and there'd be player doctors there if you had a doctor with you at the camp, and they could heal you. So you're sitting at the camp, you're listening to the entertainer maybe playing music. I always had my character have some really basic entertainer still, so he could play that jazz sax kind of instrument. It's pretty cool. Talking about the day's events, what we have ahead of us. Maybe we're trying to get across the Dune Sea again, or we're getting onto the swamps of Naboo, or raiding Imperial bases, and we've just gotten the crap kicked out of us and we're healing up. And it just encourages that type of community and conversation and hanging out and actually playing with the person beside you. Now, when you're talking about MMOs, it's hard not to talk about the idea of a theme park versus a sandbox. A theme park is something where you may be there with 30 other people riding the ride, and they're all sitting next to you, but you're not controlling where the ride goes. You're not actually talking to those people. You're just having an experience together. Once it's over, it's over. You go about your business, and you never once even shared a word between the people next to you. In a sandbox, you're playing with the people next to you. It's like having a box of Legos. You're just, as a kid, you're using your imagination and making things up as you go on the fly. And I find that to be far more rewarding and entertaining than just playing through scripted events. And that's what I'd love to see the MMO genre come back to. Angry Joe brought up something in his video talking about the Elder Scrolls. He says, and I'm not going to quote him perfectly, but he said something like, the game just feels like you're taking a quest, you're going out and killing an NPC and coming back, and there's no downtime in the middle. There's nothing else going on there. And that's a smaller example of a larger problem in the MMO genre. There's no downtime because there's no non-combat professions. Every one of the MMOs that come out now are combat simulators. Every one of them. All you do is combat. Sure, there's crafting on the side, but it really is on the side. Games like Star Wars Galaxies, you could play full roles that had nothing to do with combat. Did you want to be the best weaponsmith known for making crate 6-shooters and rocket launchers, like the best of the best weapons? Your name would actually be printed under the description. You made this weapon, and gain a following or reputation on your server. And you never picked up a weapon, and that's all you do. Maybe you're one of the best mining corporations and you mine the best minerals. You could do that, and people did it and loved it. Building your own shop, customizing your own house, building a city, changing the game world in an actual, real, physical way. It was really neat, and it drew you into the universe, and you don't see those systems anymore because everybody thinks it needs to be combat, combat, combat. Get the next best loot, level up, get stronger, get the next best loot, wash, rinse, and repeat, maybe do a little PvP on the side. Alright guys, that's the end of my rant talking about the issues with the MMO genre. It's kind of sad, but there's a little hope on the horizon. EverQuest Next, talk about sandboxes. I mean, you can just build everything. They took the idea of player-made content, and they're like, well, let's just have the players make the game for us, practically. We're gonna give them the tools, and they're gonna make all the items. Gonna keep an eye on that one, kinda looks cool. John Smedley of Star Wars Galaxies fame has said that there's a spiritual successor maybe coming out. Nobody wants a spiritual successor, they want the actual one. They want Star Wars Galaxies 2, come on. Is that gonna happen? Probably not, but we'll see what he's talking about. He's shown some screenshots, not Star Wars. It's actually something else. It looks like a church in the pictures. I don't know. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel, and as always, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.